Hello guys, welcome back to another video. My name is David. For those of you who don't know me, I am a designer and researcher here at MIT who's also studying architecture. And for today's video, I wanted to address the younger folks out there who are watching my videos. And I've been looking at the comments in some of my past videos, and a lot of you guys are sharing, your journey, what you're studying. Some of you guys are transitioning careers or starting just new careers. A lot of designers, a few engineers, whatever it is. I'm trying to tackle more the younger folks, maybe early 20s, a bit before that maybe, because I remember when I first entered university back in early undergrad days, I was a bit frustrated and I was a bit lost. And I've been getting some messages from you guys asking me for advice on what should I do, what should I pick, like what career should I do, like what program makes the most sense. And I'm not a career advisor. So, whatever advice I have, like take it with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing my own experience because I was really frustrated as well. And I feel the pain of, being stressed with like, what program should I pick? And even a few months ago before coming here, I was kind of regretting if I picked the right program, because architecture is, there's some things I don't like about it. There's some things I like, but I was looking maybe I should go into real estate. Maybe I should have gone into computational design or computer science or whatever it is, right? We always have those doubts. But if there's one thing or one advice that I would share with all of you guys, is that the most important thing, no matter what, is to learn how to learn. It is probably the most important meta skill you can cultivate, because it's something that you will never lose. And it is the most applicable skill. It's the mother of all skills, is to learn how to learn. And I would even argue that even before that, it's to learn how to read, because the best way to learn is by reading. It's the fastest way, in my opinion. And I can go into detail about the different ways of learning. For example, I'm a designer, so I'm more of a visual learner. I'm always trying to sketch things out and, see it in a diagram or with bubbles and writing and sketching and whiteboards. And, that's just how I visualize things. But I'm also very auditory. I learn a lot through listening, through podcasts, through just listening to people and having conversations that way. But, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I want to keep this short. I also just finished work, so my brain is fried. I've been in front of my computer all day. So my thoughts might be a bit blurry, so I'll try to keep it very clear. But learning how to learn is so important, because especially now, academia, university it's not going to fulfill all of your requirements. There's going to be some things that you don't like studying or that you don't like doing, some assignments you don't want to do, some tasks that just feel like a waste of time. I feel like an imposter here at MIT, because I was not the best student growing up. I was a B student at max up until high school. And at some point I had to just grind 2 times or 5 times as hard as other people who would just catch concepts quick. So I never associated myself as a smart person and someone who could learn fast. I had a lot of friends who would just they would grasp concepts super fast. Well, I was struggling with the most basic stuff, right? And I've always thought I was bad in math. For me to be at MIT feels weird. I feel like I don't belong or I'm not smart enough. But we all have imposter syndrome. It's normal. You have to get over it and count your blessings, right? But if there's one thing that I do realize I've done early on in my early 20s, is that I started to not ask for permission and to just learn on my own, to become independent, autodidactic, which basically means to just assign yourself tasks and goals on your own and just learn on your own. And it doesn't need to be things that are related to what you're studying. You can, whatever you're interested in, whatever you're curious in, follow that all the way through. And that means that you need to be resourceful. It means that you need to find, see what's in front of you, what resources you have access to. If it's people, if it's books or libraries, access to the internet, to tools, mentors, friends, whatever it is, you need those that will act as leverage for you to, boost your learning and your self-development path. And that's not just about learning like, theoretical skills or, more like, I would like applied skills that have to do with your career. It could be skills like just like awareness or like mental health or just understanding your thoughts better, like therapy, just talking to friends and talking about your emotions. Like emotional intelligence is a form of intelligence. So understanding your thoughts, but it can also be like your body, like going to the gym, understanding like, how to get healthy physically, what to eat, the nutrition. Like there's a lot of skills out there that, no one's going to teach you everything. School's not going to teach you everything. There's some life skills, soft skills, like how to talk to an adult, how to talk to kids, how to talk to people from different backgrounds and who have different language barriers, like making friends. And, there's so many skills that you need in this world that you can't expect someone like a professor to show you everything. And so the reason I say learning how to learn is important is it's like that quote, if you teach a man how to fish, or if you give a man a fish, they'll just have a fish for a day. But if you teach a man how to fish, they'll be fed forever because they'll be able to fish for themselves. So it's the same kind of concept, is understanding like how your brain functions, so how you learn best, but also it's a time thing. You have to put time into things. The way I almost treat it, and I tell this to my friend a lot of times, the kind of metaphor analogy is like, imagine your life as like a garden, and every skill is like a seed. And the earlier you plant that seed, the earlier that seed's gonna grow into, a tree or something, right? And we have all these seeds that are growing at different rates. Some seeds might be already grown into full-on trees and you're really good in this kind of subject or skill. And then some skills you haven't even planted the seed because you didn't even try to understand it in the first place. But that's okay. Like, I'm just here to remind you that you can start planting those seeds and then see where it brings you. But you have to nurture it. You have to spend time in it. Sometimes you might forget some things, but it's like learning how to bike or ride a bike. Is once you learn it, you might get rusty after a while if you haven't done it in a long time, but you will pick it up easily because the brain works in a really interesting way with like muscle memory and pattern recognition, and you can like skill stack, and there's cross hybridization between skills. Eventually, the more skills you learn, or the more disciplines you try to understand, the more you realize they're all very similar. They almost kind of converge into the same. There's a lot of kind of comparisons and similarities between different topics. I won't go into detail about that. That becomes a bit more philosophical, but and spiritual if you want it. But learning how to learn. Like if you're young, if you're in your early 20s, self-educate yourself. And now you have access to unlimited tools, unlimited resource. AI is one example. You can ask any question, it will give you any response. The models are amazing now. And it starts with your curiosity. But if you're curious and if you're willing to put in the time and to treat it like a lifelong thing, because it's not going to be like you're not going to learn a concept like this. It's going to take time. You have to build up on it. You have to sleep on it. You have to, muscle memory works by, sleeping, forgetting, remembering, and then that's how, you know, the learning curve works, right? So if you're not curious, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's okay. But like I said in my past videos, like if you're self-conscious, if you're or self-aware, self-conscious, if you're open-minded, and if you're playful and you treat this as like a fun thing, already you have the ingredients to make it happen and to start cultivating that growth mindset that I've been working on since like the age of 18, when I started meditating like almost daily. And now obviously I'm not doing it daily, but it was kind of the mindset of like, okay, let me do something I hate doing, which is just sitting and just not thinking of anything. And then that would transition into like learning how to train like your body, and then learning how to read books that like are very difficult in the beginning when you first start out, because you don't understand anything, or your brain is not used to reading. But then the more time you put into it, the more you get in the flow state, and then it becomes like a part of you. It's the same way, like if you ask it's like the 10,000 hour rule, which is an arbitrary number, but it's a numbers game. If you put in more time into something, any skill, you will eventually just become good at it, and it will become second nature, where it becomes intuition. There's many books on it. There's that talk about the flow state, or like thinking fast, thinking slow, that kind of stuff. But really, it just starts with like kind of, you have to stop with the limiting beliefs that, you know, you're kind of a label. You're like contained in this box where like, okay, I am an engineer, I am a designer, I am this, I am biologist, I'm just good at that one thing. I don't know. For me, I've always thought of like, why would you limit yourself to one field? You know, there's so many interesting things that you can learn, and it depends on what's valuable to you, what you want to prioritize in your life. But now it's never been easier. And so the reason I wanted to bring up this video idea is because like I was working today at the lab, and I'm assigned this like new project in Dubai that is, I can't really talk too much about it because it's confidential, but just to give you an idea, it's at the intersection of robotics, marine biology, design, urbanism, and ecology, I guess. I mean, it's just like super, super like broad project, but it's mostly like robotics and like marine biology. And so like today, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a roboticist. So I've been like just reading papers and papers and getting into the rabbit holes. And then because I'm a visual learner, I would open like a bunch of tabs. I use like Miro, for example, and I would like every note I take, I would just, it's a visual whiteboard, like a digital whiteboard. So I would kind of like put notes here, make connection, make diagrams, do some sketches, but also like use ChatGPT or Claude to kind of like ask questions, generate some diagrams so I can understand, like reword things so it's like easier for me to understand. Any form of like any way that could help me understand concepts better, I was doing. And I felt like an idiot because like sometimes I had to refresh my like high school chemistry knowledge that I, took like maybe a few years ago. But, you kind of have to always have this beginner mindset if you want to learn, because, there's just so many limited things you can keep in your brain at one time, right? But the next thing I will say is that things like this, like the reason why I can do this is because I am working on a project. And, sometimes you don't have that luxury of being assigned a really cool project that like makes you excited to work on and to learn more things. But I was doing this even before I was fortunate to have this. I was assigning my own projects. I would give myself projects. I would like almost like passion projects or side hustles when I was trying to like work on some businesses on my own. But if you're willing to put in the work, and if you're curious enough and you're willing to learn and go on that adventure, you can just tell yourself like, I'm gonna, maybe I'm working a full-time job, or maybe I'm a full-time student, but after hours, I'm working on building this cool project, and I'm gonna research everything that I want or that I need to learn in order to help fuel my project. And I would argue that is probably the best way to learn, because it is fully applied. It is literally like you have an end goal, an end vision, that like product or project or whatever you're trying to create. And then you're kind of looking at what's missing, like what are the gaps in my knowledge in order to achieve that. It might take a lot of time. You might have to get lost in YouTube tutorials or research papers or blog posts or like random websites that like are sketchy or kind of weird, but then you get dragged in links and links and links, and then you're kind of like, you have like a million tabs open, but you are fully immersed. And really learning, it's like language learning. They always say like immersion is how you learn a language. And it's like best way, go to that country. You're like, it's like throwing you in the water. You're kind of forced to learn how to swim on the spot. But that's how you learn a language, is you're kind of forced to just consume everything around you. It's your environment, right? You have to be immersed in that. And then your brain is like a baby. Like babies learn languages by just existing in the world and being surrounded by people that speak the language. And then with time, your brain, muscle memory and all that stuff kicks in and you learn the language. So it's the same thing with any skill. It's just immersion. And that's why I love podcasts, because if you're commuting or if you're kind of fed up with like all the visual stimulus and all the screen time, you can just, put in some headphones and then let people talk to you about any subject. And you might not, you can pick whatever subject you want. It could be very technical. You might feel like an idiot because you're like, I understand like half the words these guys are saying. But the more you do it, the more you will, you will start to pick up some words that they keep saying and some concepts they keep bringing back. And then eventually you'll be fluent in the same language as them. And you'll be able to at least have a conversation about the topic that these experts have. And so that's something I applied to myself early in my undergrad days, is I would create my own curriculums. I would create my own projects, lead my own projects, like a project of one person. Sometimes I would bring other people to help me, like brainstorm or whatever, build the product or build the kind of side hustle at the time. But you don't need permission. You can just go on, do it, run with it. You will learn by doing. It's the only way to learn, really. You're not going to learn by just, reading. I mean, you could learn by reading a textbook, but it's going to be very boring. It's going to be like, I'm sorry, but like it's kind of torturous. You might as well just like give yourself a project and then use the textbook as reference while you're building that project. It will just be more applied knowledge instead of just like theory, memorize. Because at some point, like your memorization is going to kick in and you're not going to truly understand the concepts because they won't be applied. It will just, the knowledge will just be living in a silo, in a void. It won't be like actually applicable to a solution you're trying to build or something you're trying to fix, or trying to create in this world. Or like it could even be like an artwork or a piece of like a masterpiece that has no function, but it's beautiful in its own. And maybe you have to learn some concepts, or I don't know. There's different ways to apply your knowledge to a project. So yeah, this is a long rant. I don't even know if this made a lot of sense because I'm kind of out of it, if I'm being honest. I might have like said a lot of things that, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But let me know if there's some things that you resonate with. But learning how to learn So important. And it's like something that's like, it's a never ending game. You're always going to, there's always things to learn, right? But if you're able to start thinking about, okay, what are the things you're interested in? Pick those subjects and then set up some systems. Maybe that system is every day I want to listen to one podcast, like a 30-minute episode podcast on that subject every morning, maybe, or every night I read this book, or maybe it's a 1 book a week challenge. That's something I used to do, is I would read a new book every single week. And obviously you don't have, I don't think you need to finish a book. You can just, if there are parts that are boring to you, skim through it, just like treat the book like a blog post, or like a research paper. You're not gonna always read research papers like thoroughly, like trying to understand everything perfectly. No, you just read it through. And then if there's something that catches your attention, focus more. And then if it gets boring or if you get lost, just skip, and then, make it fun, make it your own. Have fun with it, But yeah, if you can set up some systems on your life to learn different subjects and different skills, it will just break you out of your routine. It will make your schedule more enjoyable. If you're like, oh, this is like, I'm leaving some me time to learn about this thing, and don't feel guilty, even if your boss might be mad because you're not spending time on your project or on their project, or if your professor, wants you to just focus on that. I mean, you're a free person, you have free will, do whatever you want, set some time for yourself, be selfish, and then, cultivate the skills that you've been wanting to cultivate. And yeah, now is the best time because, like I said, the internet, AI, you can learn anything now. You just have to break those limiting beliefs that you're only good at one, or you're bad at this thing. Like I used to think I was bad in math. I would always tell people, I was like, oh, I'm bad in math. Like I'm not good, or I don't like history. Now I love history and I'm fascinated by mathematics. And it's just because I just picked up a book. I picked up some history books, picked up some math books, or I would discover some people who, like through podcasts or through YouTube, who would explain mathematics in a different way, through a different perspective, that just, made it more approachable for me. And now I'm just like, I find it fascinating. I might not understand everything about it, but the fundamentals are enough for me, and I still have a lot to learn, but that's okay with me. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to enjoy and learn and apply it to something cool, and that's it. So yeah, that's my little rant for today. Yeah, if you resonate with something, let me know. If you haven't, please subscribe. Leave a like, leave a comment. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, I'll stop talking now. All right, I hope you have a nice day. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.